everybody, I'm Rusty Wallace. Welcome to our show. You know, racing's a gamble, no matter how you cut it. Listen to this. Two of the greatest names in motorsports joined forces to begin the 1995 NASCAR Winston Cup season. Drag racing legend and Winston Cup team owner Kenny Bernstein selected 14-time World of Outlaws champion Steve Kinser to drive his stock cars. Kinser is the greatest sprint car driver of all time. Now, I'll tell you, that doesn't sound like much of a gamble, but for Bernstein, it was.
Why Steve Kinser? Well, the first thing is that he was a winner. He's won 15 out of 17 years in a sport that I consider pretty difficult to do. You don't dominate all those years without having a great amount of talent, energy, focus, and determination. When I met with Steve, with Richard, and with John and myself, we were impressed with the fact that the guy really wanted to do this, and that he had the air about him of being a winner and being a person that was capable of grabbing a hold of the bull by its horns and going with it. And that's the kind of guy he is, and that's what we wanted, and that's what we saw.
Well, there's probably nobody tried to make the transition I have as soon and all at one time. You know, it might not, I wouldn't recommend probably anybody to try to do it again.
Before the season began, Bernstein hosted members of the National Motorsports Press at his shop in Huntersville, North Carolina. And every one of them had the same question.
The attitude he has is just give me a race car and a steering wheel, I'm ready to go. Boy, that's all you can ask for.
I try to keep my tires underneath myself and my car where it's supposed to be, and again, you have to be around when the checker's going to be thrown.
Your thoughts on where you are now compared to then?
Well, you know, I feel a lot more comfortable. We're just going to go out and like I said, take one race at a time. And
Steve, you guys cut some pretty big smiles when you were talking about the first time you got into a Winston Cup car. Tell us what happened those times at Myrtle Beach and Phoenix, I believe.
Well, I think they got the smiles. I wasn't the one who had all the smiles on me. Oh, I just what you got is your knowledge of how to race in your head and how to finish races and how to compete. That's all still there. But as far as learning your machine and your racetracks and everything else, it's like taking off the first day of school again. I probably will be amazed myself, just to be honest with you. I mean, you know, I'm going to make mistakes. There's no doubt about that. I mean, it's going to happen because they're going to have trouble doing it, I'm telling you, because it's not easy.
You ever sitting there watching them on TV and say, I can do that?
I don't know if I've ever said that. I've probably said I would like to be a part of it, or I would like to have the opportunity to do that.
I'd like to try that.
Yeah, well, I've probably said that, yeah.
Everyone knew, myself included, that Steve Kinser's transition from open-wheel sprint cars to the big, heavy stock cars would be tough. We followed Steve, Kenny, and team manager Richard BROOME in their qualifying attempt for the Trans-South 400 in Darlington, South Carolina. And what you're about to see are some very proud men in a very humbling situation.
Is the car loose, or is it pushing? That kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? It's got stiff shocks on it. That's right. That's the only thing I need to know right now. No, we're just going to ride like it's on board.
Win is presented to you by Allied Signal's Fram filter products. Fram, you can pay a little now or a lot later. And by Autolite spark plugs and wire and cable products. Autolite spark plugs, guaranteed for 2 years, no matter how far you go.
What does he still need to, what's the biggest area he needs to improve on besides that? I mean, actually driving the car.
Just getting used to the feel of the car, knowing what it's supposed to feel like. That's the only thing I see it is liking. He just don't know how far to push it, know how far to go in the corner with it. He'll be all right. Everybody just got to, you know, bear with it a little bit.
And I'm right now, you know, just having enough trouble running one good lap to qualify, let alone sit there and stringing all days a good solid pit run from whether it be a tire run or a fuel run or what. So And then the next thing is, once I get running good, then I got to learn to run side by side people with that stuff that I haven't done. And it's just going to be just transition after transition after transition. I think a lot of it is I just need to forget what I'm doing and take that thing around that white line and try to get back in that throttle hard and let it come out there. And if I ever run up the track, I'm done. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Here. Really, just like ambulance. Yeah. I mean, I'm saying don't even get any heat in. Are you getting ready? Do you have any stickers? I mean, I would say whenever you get comfortable on, but I don't think, you know, I mean, I think some guys are going to go with stickers, some guys are going with stuff. Because here's the thing you got to remember, when you go to qualify, you're going to drive straight out on the racetrack and go from there all the way around, all the way through here before you get here. That's kind of why we're going to go on stickers. You know, so you really can get them scuttled right away. But I mean, every pole we've been on this year so far, we just went out there and just didn't even get any heat in them. I mean, not even a half lap. Just went down the straightaway and just went and then went in the corner and just kind of and then came in. I mean, where the sticker's almost still on there, it's just like you know, blended into the tire. Because if you look at them, they've got that shiny glaze on when they're brand new. If you just knock a little bit of that off them, it seems to make a difference.
Knock it out. Well, to help take off.
How you doing?
Huh?
How you? What's the best you run today? Okay. All right, man. I'll leave you alone. Have fun.
When you say wiggle getting into the corner, it's when you're on the brake?
Well, see, I've been trying to be off the brake.
Okay, have you ever gone into that point and stayed off the brake? And know you're completely off of it? And if you haven't, you need to try that and see if it wiggles or not. Yeah. Just don't even touch it and see what happens. Most of the time I do that, I go there off. Well, just try it once and just be ready to get back on the brake. But just try to hang off that thing for that period of time that you know it's going to wiggle. And just see if it doesn't wiggle or not. Then you'll know that answer right there.
Well, now we've took the brake off.
Right. Yeah, now you better go out there and do what you normally do. I'm not on it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, but it might not take but just a few minutes to upset the car.
Yeah, these brakes are a lot better when I get the car.
Well, this time, though, with this brake, you need to go ahead and just do what you've been doing until you find out what it does, okay? All right. But then if it does still wiggle, you need to make a lap and try to stay off the brake during that point in time and just see if it just clears it up or not. And just see what happens. Just be ready to get after the brake when you need it, but just see if it gets through that point. If this didn't fix it. Through 1 and 2 and lost everything. That's about all I can say.
Instead of getting the car upset. Maybe, I don't know, maybe there's something there, I don't know. Because, you know, I've been telling you the thing's wiggling around getting in.
Right. Well, I didn't wiggle actually getting in there. I wiggled way in the middle of the corner then.
Steve Kinser wasn't in the top 20 qualifiers. It would be a struggle just to make the field. This from a man who comes from a sport where he won 384 races. His confidence is shaken, but he's not looking back.
You know, right now, that's one of the good things. I'm over that now. That's behind me. If you'd have talked to me a week or 2 weeks ago, I was at the point where, you know, I would have went to the race team and said, get somebody else to put in this car and drive it. You know, I'll just go back to doing what I'm doing at my period of time. But and then I sit down and really thought it over. And now I want to sit here and race. So as long as they give me the opportunity to stick it out all year, if they can do that, I'm willing to do it. Again, that's how I'm going to. That's the only way I'm going to leave here is if they decide that they've had enough.
Win is brought to you by cold-filtered Miller Genuine Draft, making the world a very cool place.
Brought to you by Jiffy Lube. If it doesn't say Jiffy Lube, it just isn't Jiffy Lube.
Promotional consideration for Win is provided by Sony.
Sony ESP electronic shock protection protects your music from almost any jumps, skips, or sudden stops in the Sony Car Discman CD player.
And Stock Car Racing Magazine. Subscribe to the world's most popular racing publication at the one-year discount price of $14.97. Call toll-free 1-800-333-2633. And by Allied Signals Bendix Brakes, the best-known name in brakes.
It's Saturday morning at Darlington. Steve Kinser and team have failed to qualify. They have 1 hour practice session to figure out how they're going to make this race. Now, is that enough pressure for you?
I knew it was going to be tough. We knew it was going to be a tough year. Everybody's got to pay their dues. I don't know if you should have to do it twice in his career.
If he is not 150% committed to doing this, then he won't be successful. And I'll be honest, we won't go on. None of us can, because if I'm not committed, we don't go on. If Richard Broome's not committed, he doesn't go on. You follow me? But if he has come to those conclusions, which as he's told you and has told me, and I think it's what he's saying is that he's second-guessed. Why should he come over here and fight this out when he can go right back to sprint car racing and be king of the outlaws the minute he returns? It's much like Michael Jordan going back to basketball. I mean, it's really similar. So I can see where he would second-guess himself and say, do I really want to do this? Now, when the commitment has come, as we both know, and what he has told us to be, this is his life, this is what he wants to do, now he'll start becoming a driver, because that's what it's going to take.
I messed 1 and 2 up. I messed 3 and 4 up, which got me off their bag. That's still enough. It hit the wall.
Yeah.
If I could have got a good smooth lap there, I could have ran it. I'm telling you. But I can't. I didn't, so it don't matter. You know what I mean?
You're gonna have to say you got to get it out. Let's get on jack stands and beat it out. Then we're gonna beat it out or change motors first. No, we ain't got time to change motors.
Well, they're all running quicker this morning. We would have never made it if we'd stood on our time. I mean, some of the cars that we didn't even think would go.
Sorry about turning the side of your car.
All right, we'll fix that.
One way to get flat sides on a car.
Fix that.
That's your best lap.
Thank you. Thank you. I just got my Darlington stripe, so a little harder stripe than what I wanted.
You're doing good. Hey, you don't do nothing wrong tonight.
Your attention, please. John will move the truck to the backstretch in the morning. The north bank.
Your car looks good too.
Huh?
Your car looks good.
Got it looking right at the race car, don't it?
Yeah, that's right.
I cannot be touching them brakes coming out. Then I just drove the throttle and worked on the right side and drove the throttle. Right front, right rear, right front, right rear, all the way out. You know what I mean? Yeah. And just let the car edge its way out. And just gave it, it fed as much throttle as I could to it. You know what I mean? To where it stick. And I got the hell away from that brake. And I think what I do sometimes is when I'm sitting there running it,
running with my foot laying on that. Sometimes when I give it throttle, I give it brake too, you know what I mean? And I'm not doing it noticing it, you know what I'm saying?
Yes,
it's sort of anti-noticeable. I mean, I mentally, I don't think I'm doing it, but I feel my foot there, you know? Every once in a while you'll find that rhythm you want to do and how you want to run, but it's like it takes so much to find it. And right now I'm right here and everybody else finds it right here, you know, so it's finally shrinking in there, but it's got a long way to go.
Greatest dirt track driver ever was.
Yeah.
Take that to the bank.
We don't know if we'll ever make a pavement driver, though.
Yeah, you will.
Autolite presents Force in Your Face.
You know what question that I'm asked most? What about the fans? Let me tell you something. You got to eat, you got to breathe, you got to have fans. Let me tell you something. Everybody ought to have at least one. Right, Kenny? Well, let me tell you something. He's got a bunch of them. So does Rusty. There's nothing like them. When you're on top, they're right there with you. When you're in the cellar, they're still on top with you. That's the way they think. You know, there's nothing like it. You know, myself, I was a fan. I loved to watch Don Perdome, Big Daddy Don Garlitz, and Shirley Muldowney. It was an unbelievable feeling. Did I ever think the day would come when I would have people wanting my autograph? Unbelievable. I won 4 Winston championships, and you know what? On the one that I lost, this little kid come up to the ropes. He said, "Hey, champ, what about an autograph?" Let me tell you something, Rusty. I felt like Babe Ruth.
Well, Babe, this time I agree with you. You're absolutely right. And one of those guys who sure does have a lot of fans is Steve Kinser. You know, it was one of those neat times in NASCAR. I think everybody was pulling for him. One of Steve's biggest fans is also one of the hottest drivers on our circuit. Jeff Gordon came in NASCAR the same way Kinser did, by way of sprint cars.
When people ask me today, you know, who was my hero in racing and who did I look up to, I mean, I still feel like Steve Kinser is my hero because when I was a kid, when I was growing up, you know, I watched sprint car racing. I was around sprint car racing more than I was around any stock cars or Indy cars or anything. And, I mean, he was just awesome. And then when I got to race against him, I just truly found out how awesome he really was. I mean, the guy is amazing in the sprint car. And, you know, I think he can do it in the stock car. And you know, it's a difficult time for him right now. I know it's frustrating, but, you know, it took me a while to make that transition. And I hadn't driven sprint cars as long as he has. So, you know, I got to run Busch. I think that helped me out a lot. He's the king. He's got to run Winston Cup, you know. And I think that it's just going to take some time, but it's going to come together. He's got a good team, and I'm really looking forward to when he really starts to get the handle on it.
The only disadvantage for Steve Kinser is he doesn't have the 2 years of Busch that Jeff had, in my opinion. If I probably had this to go over, and if he had it to go over again, we'd have to look at the Busch deal for at least a year. Probably would help him a lot. Jeff had the 2 years in Busch. He was okay. Nothing, no killer deal. His first year in the Winston Cup, Mr. Hendricks told me the other day, Kenny, don't get discouraged. Jeff tore up 14 cars on our first year, you know. But he maintained. In the second year, he won a couple of races, and now he's a legitimate contender.
Tell me something about your car. Is it okay?
It's okay. It feels pretty good right now.
Holy cow. What a mess. Now, what happened there?
Steve, when I tell you there's a wreck in front of you like that, don't panic, but you're doing the right thing until you get used to driving through all that.
I understand. Well, we want to hang it there and get as fast as we can. I don't need to be diving into it. Even if it costs us a position or two right now, I think it's the thing to do.
Okay. Why don't you guys get ready to put in 4 tires on and take a roundabout out of it and do it in the right rear.
10-4, we got it. A roundabout out of the right rear.
Tell me something about your car. Is it okay?
It's okay. It feels pretty good right now. Just a lot of little things I got to learn.
You look real good down here 1 and 2. It ain't even like the same guy driving the car.
Hey, I'm here to stay. You guys have to run me off. You're not going to get rid of me.
And I got to give a call to Ward Burt, the Hardy's car. He's been able to get by Bobby Labonte and Ricky and the crash. He gets together with Kinser, and Bobby Labonte's hit and run is crashing in the back straightaway.
A 3 or 4 car crash, and still Ricky Rudd is taking hits out there.
How bad is it, Steve? Steering wheel's off the having her.
Oh, and a whole bunch of cars.
Come on around, come back in, Steve. Guys, let's look at everything. There's no big hurry here. We're way down on laps. Let's make sure it's right. Okay, it's smoking now. Yeah, we have dropped the cylinder now. We've hurt the motor. Back up. Just bring it in.
Darlington would be Steve Kinser's last race with King Racing. They failed to qualify for the next 2 shows, and Steve Kinser and Kenny Bernstein parted ways, and they parted friends. Kinser went back to recapture his throne as the King of Outlaws. Kenny Bernstein's brave gamble didn't pan out, but you can't blame him for that. If you're going to win, you have to take a chance. And friends, my bet is Steve will be back. And I hope you'll take a chance and join me to watch the best show on TV. We'll see you next week on Win.